This is some video from one of our police cars as the storm actually hit the city. This is from the 16th. One of the hardest hit areas was Pico and El Camino. You'll notice as the police car arrives that in his early arrival down at Ernesto's restaurant in the Holiday Hotel that the water was already well across the road and already coming through the restaurant. You notice as he pulls down the alley here, the Porsche has already been pushed through the wall, through the garage, and the water is some feet up through the residence. We were lucky to get some tape from some private citizens. We certainly didn't have any time to take any of this tape at the time. We instituted our basic emergency plan at this time. We had some people trapped on a roof with water all around them. We had people trapped in cars. We had to bring in swift water rescue teams and helicopters. It was quite an awesome sight to stand in what is normally a rather sedate intersection and watch this kind of activity in our city. But it gives you a feel for exactly what happened to us that particular Saturday afternoon. The damage to the two structures they're basically total losses with extensive damage to the surrounding areas, and the video will take you through it. There's the 4 people who got trapped on the roof of the real estate building. We were eventually able to get them down with no particular problem. At one point, the water actually came up to the bottom of the 35-mile-an-hour sign you see there, but this was quite a strong force coming down through here. That water is approximately 6 to 10 feet over the top of the culvert that passes underneath Pico. Give you an idea of the volume of water that was coming down there through this particular storm.
Is that drain blocked?
No, that drain is over capacity is what we assumed. There was not debris that we know of in the drain. This is North Beach. You can see the water found its way back through North Beach. At one time it did, at one time it did actually come up in some points and cover the railroad tracks. So there was quite a bit of water. This wasn't exactly shot at the height of the storm. In addition to the damage to Pico and to some of the storm drain systems and the buildings, this same water went on over into other areas. This is some days after we've gone back and tried to give you a little assessment of just how powerful this storm was, kind of panning across Pico where it is, and then we'll take you through a real quick look at what happened to the Holiday Motel and to Ernesto's before we move on to other areas that were damaged by the storm. Understand when you were looking at this before, probably where you're taking the camera angle from would have been underwater where you're standing. The water came through the restaurant, broke out the front windows. Our police department did an excellent job helping to assist to get people out of there, push some cars around. This Mercedes was actually picked up and moved by the storm. The storm went ahead and punched through the doors. You can see the storm debris that's been left and the high water marks inside the hotel. This is the area where the Porsche was actually pushed through the building and out the back wall. A lot of damage, a lot of force here. Basically, I believe these buildings will have to be torn down. I don't believe that they're going to be salvageable in terms of the level of damage that's occurred to them. You can see the refrigerator kind of knocked around, that type of thing. Just a real unusual situation for this kind of urban area that we live in. In addition to this, we had some other areas that were impacted. Obviously, El Camino Real was impacted. There was a lot of mud and debris that had to be moved off that. EMA has been very helpful in helping us do that, get that particular area under control. The water did also, as well as coming through the restaurant and the hotel that you see there, it did also go over under the trailer park. And this is a little damage there at North Beach. We had to take mud and debris and work on the storm drains, that kind of stuff, to get that up to speed. Some of those areas are just now being opened up, some, week and a half after the storm type of thing. And we'll be going to the trailer park here in just a second. The Amtrak was actually shut down for a while. The railroad estimates they lost $400,000 in revenues for the period of time that it was shut down because of storm damage. You can see the undermining in the trailer park as the water moved through the trailer park. It literally took a lot of the sand and the footings out from underneath the trailers, deposited a large amount of debris up underneath the trailers, and basically did a lot of work there. During the height of the flood, we had a lot of people that were cut off in there. Fire department had to go to the north end of the trailer park, cut through the fence to effect rescues from that end of the park. As most of you are aware, there's only one way into that trailer park, and it happened to be underwater, so it caused us a little bit of grief. This is some of the storm damage that's been left. The debris is just kind of piled up. Somewheres it's a foot thick of just mostly wooden stuff that comes out of the storm drain, that type of thing. We did have sandbagging operations later in the day. As you might remember, we also had high surf at the same time. Mother Nature does tend to do that sort of thing to you. As you can see, those are well. Now we're moving over behind the sewer plant. This is over the Pico drainage. Runs behind. You can see that the water actually knocked out some 300 to 400 foot of retaining wall. That retaining wall is about 30 feet high, approximately. Took a whole section of it out, put it right down in the storm drain. Didn't help matters much there. However, that debris did not appear to be impacted. This is up at 1510 North Estrella. Most of you have seen this in the paper. It broke through there. The rock you see down there has been put back in by EMA. During the storm, that washed out, and that building became undermined and began to collapse. We were able to disconnect the power and try and make that a safer situation, but that was one of our more critical situations during the actual weekend, and we will be moving in to try and deal with that particular situation shortly. As I said, we've been trying to work to get the mud off here. EMA and Lusk have been working real hard with us to try and get the mud off a coast highway. In addition to that, we do have some issues to do with slope failures onto Coast Highway in both our city and in the city of Dana Point. We've tried to illuminate for you some of the areas where we've had some slope failures that we consider to be significant. We do have buildings that are in fact posted up on this hillside where the slope has failed to the point where you can actually see the footings of the buildings, and we'll get some better pictures out a little later in the video. We kind of edited this on the fly, so they're not always in the exact order we would normally put them in. Just to give you an idea, those are the cliffs just below Colony Cove. Heading on down now towards Camino Cap and El Camino Real, the next thing we're looking at is the La Ventana slide. As you're aware, the La Ventana is in the city, and yet the slope down below it is owned by the city of Dana Point. It's a fairly sizable slide that occurred here that has the highway closed up to Palisades. In this particular case, one house has lost over 15 feet of their backyard to the point where the slope is now, I believe, within 8 or 10 feet of their house. When this particular video was taken, you look at the patio up here that's overhanging, it was still present. However, since then, that patio has also slid down. So another section that has gone out. They do not currently have that section open, and in fact, they're trying to evaluate the situation before they remove that debris pile and try and decide what exactly that's going to do. In general, we had slope failures all over the city, literally hundreds of them, perhaps thousands. There were some very significant ones that closed streets. There were others that left us with no access to fire hydrants. There were some failures that actually went into buildings. We were not immune. You'll notice here in just a minute we had a slope failure right here in our own City Hall parking lot that actually almost closed off the second entrance. So it took some time to get that out of there as well. So we were not immune to this. Many residents have gone to putting up tarps, and this is where most of our sandbags went, to try and keep the rain and the moisture off of those slopes. But as you can see, we got an awful lot of water. Now we're up on C Sonora. This is where the two houses are literally sliding down. These houses are totally destroyed. We anticipate that they will be hand-wrecked here in the next few days to take them off. These pictures were taken a couple days after the storm. The slippage is actually even greater than what you're going to see in this video. We just didn't have time to update the video. This was quite dramatic enough to tell you why they're being torn down. I believe the total slip at this point is a little over 3 feet, both laterally and horizontally. So they have moved quite a bit. And essentially the houses are destroying themselves as they slide. We got a few interior shots here to show you the level of devastation as these houses go on down. This is
Gene, is that water saturation that's causing that, or was it actually sufficient flow, or what's?
I believe this is just a slope failure from water, but I believe the city engineer would probably be better equipped to handle that question than I would be. Inside the house, you can see that the movement is quite dramatic. As I say, this is early. This is when it only slipped about 1.5 feet. Whatever you see here is basically doubled since this has happened. Luckily, it moved slow enough. These people didn't even notice anything until the day after the storm. I think Sunday or Monday was the first call. They were able to get their furniture out, but that's about all they're going to get out of this house at the moment.